There was this lady trying to hit me.
And he said, Mom, this crazy lady just tried to run me over. And I was like, what are you talking about?
A Florida woman is accused of chasing a teenager riding an e-bike, even tailgating him on a bike path as he tried to get away. We have her questionable excuse for her alleged actions and witness video that may prove the whole thing. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is another Law&Crime legal alert. So recent allegations against the multi-billion-dollar video game industry claim that video games are engineered for addiction. Yeah, so the claims include trying to make sense of the hold that video games seem to have over people, where they just can't put the controller down. Every win triggers that hit of dopamine, and that creates a cycle of compulsion that disrupts daily life and it harms mental health. But our legal sponsors are taking on the industry that has allegedly at many times put profit over safety, and they're working to potentially get compensation for all of those impacted. So if you or a loved one have suffered physical or mental health issues due to video games, then visit vgclaims.com/sidebar to answer less than 10 questions and check your eligibility to file a claim. So school's out, and 14-year-old Gage was doing what a lot of kids do over summer vacation. He was riding his bike near his neighborhood in Palm Coast, Florida. He was apparently cruising along the Pine Lakes bike and walking path next to the road when he realized something was very wrong.
There was this lady trying to hit me.
That's right. A woman in an SUV had apparently driven onto the bike path and was following him. Now, another video filmed by a witness shows both Gage and the driver of the SUV flying across crosswalks, and at times, she gets dangerously close to him. A man later told police that he saw Gage waving his arms, trying to get somebody to help him. So this man's girlfriend wasn't very far behind him, driving a separate car, so he told her to start recording on her phone. And at one point, she points the camera at her odometer as she's alongside them, showing that they're going around 20 miles an hour. And that is when her boyfriend uses his car to essentially block the SUV and let Gage get away. Now, he also reached out to dispatchers to let them know what was going on. Deputies, they responded, they talked to the witnesses, but Gage and the suspect had already left the scene. Fortunately, the witness video picked up the SUV's license plate, and deputies tracked down their suspect, 65-year-old Juliana Kalthof. But they weren't sure who the teenager was since he'd raced away. Flagler County Sheriff's Office said that Gage's parents got in touch with them about what happened. And according to a release from the Sheriff's Office, Kalthof told deputies that the incident occurred because she was angry at the victim for riding his e-bike too fast and wanted to find out where he lived in order to speak to his parents. But according to Gage, Kalthof had screamed at him, chased him, tried to force him off the path. So a few days after the incident happened on June 10th, deputies arrested Kalthof, charged her with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill and reckless driving. She was also issued a traffic citation for driving along the multi-use path. And in a statement, Sheriff Rick Staley said this woman caused a dangerous situation with her reckless and aggressive behavior and could have seriously hurt or killed not just the child she was chasing, but anyone who happened to be walking or biking on that path. I'm thankful that nobody was hurt, or she could be facing even more serious charges. I also want to thank the bystander who stopped a dangerous situation and called 911 so that our deputies could handle it, conduct their investigation, and arrest this driver who clearly needs anger management. Now, according to Florida law, e-bikes have to follow basically the same rules as regular bicycles. They can be ridden on streets, highways, shoulders, bike lanes, and multi-use paths. So that's something that might factor into this case. And as far as the suspect, she was released on a $3,000 bond. Her arraignment is scheduled for July 22nd in Flagler County Court. Here's the thing. I had the opportunity to actually catch up with the teen's parents, Adam and Christina Ellis, to find out how their son is doing and what they hope happens next. Take a listen.
Adam, Christina, thank you so much for taking the time. It's great to meet both of you. I can imagine this is a very strange and tough time. How is your son doing? How are you guys doing with everything that's been going on, including the fact that this has made essentially national headlines?
It's a shell shock. Gage is doing great. He still has yet to ride his e-bike, and That's with good measure. I think when he decides he wants to ride it, I think we're going to go out with him on ours, take him through the neighborhood. Just like I said, just make sure that everything is kosher, nothing, no target, nothing weird happens until he gets his confidence built back up.
And Christina, I mean, did he ever have problems like this before? Did you ever say, "Hey, I don't like the way you're writing it"? Anything like that before this incident happened?
No, he has not. He has not personally, but he's had friends that have been run off the road. He's had friends that's come in close coincidences, but for him in particular, no.
How did you find out what happened here?
Well, he came home after it happened and he told me about it. This was Saturday night. And he said, Mom, this crazy lady just tried to run me over. And I was like, what are you talking about? And my first instinct was to ask him, okay, Gage, what did you do? And he goes, Mom, I swear I didn't do anything. And I said, well, what triggered her? And he said, Mom, he said, I was coming out of the neighborhood and he said, I did swerve at one instance to avoid hitting a rock. I said, well, were you close to her? He said, no. He said, she was a good bit of a ways down the road. And he said, she went down to the end of the road, took a U-turn, and then I could hear somebody screaming. And he said, I looked beside me and she was beside me screaming with all of her windows down. And he said, it scared me and I started speeding up. And I said, okay, and then what? She started following me and he walked me through the instance. And then he said, she cut me off trying to get me, or when I was getting on the bike path. And he said, I started getting a little, when you pedal the bikes, they do get a little bit faster. He said, so I started pedaling for my life. And he said, I started waving people down. And he said, at that point, I started recording too, just so I, have evidence. And he's like, look, and he said, thankfully, a witness stopped and cut her off. And he said he was on the phone. The guy told me that he was calling the cops. And I said, okay, good. They called the cops. I said, so, and I'm like, do I need to call the cops? I was in panic. Do I need to call the cops? And then I told him, I said, okay, everybody knows your bike. You're the only one in the neighborhood that has it. I said, they'll get the report and they'll follow up with us. And I said, if not, we'll follow up in the morning. And I asked him, I said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to call the cops now? He's like, no, just okay. So the next morning he got up and he started telling his dad and Nana about it. And then that's when he was kind of a little bit shaky talking about it. And then my husband's like, well, let's call the cops, follow up, see if there was a report, see if anything happened. And then it kind of escalated from there.
And I want to get into the police response, or maybe I believe what you had told us before the interview, maybe the lack of initial response, which I think is interesting to talk about. But when you guys saw that video and we all saw that video, what was your reaction to it? Adam, I'll start with you.
The initial reaction was rage. Like, how can someone, what was that person thinking? Basically, the initial response was call the police. Let's get the officer out here. And when I called 911, the dispatch number, that's when they said they pulled the report. They said, oh, you're the father of the kid from last night. I was like, yes, officer en route. And then it kind of went south almost instantly Sunday. That's when the frustration really kicked in.
And I want to get to that. And Christina, when you saw the video, and by the way, your reaction to that, and did you ever get a chance to talk with the person who allegedly cut her off?
Not until after she was arrested and the report went viral. In the few times that we talked to the cops or Adam called the police department, they didn't give us any information. They did not give us her name. They did not give us the witness name, nothing. So we didn't get the witness video until Wednesday or Tuesday night. I think it might have been Wednesday night because he came over and we, we introduced ourselves and thanked him. And And then his girlfriend was with him, Brittany, and she said, "Hey, I have the video. Do you want it?" She said, "I uploaded it to the police department." And I was like, "Yes, yes, please." And she showed us the video, and that video, my heart sank. Gage's was pretty intense, but looking at Brittany's video just really put it all together. It was like, holy cow. And then the more you watch it, your heart just sinks because not once, but twice, she came pretty close to hitting him.
I was going to ask you if someone didn't intervene, what do you think could have happened?
There's 1,000 scenarios you could play in that one. I mean, you pick one, because we didn't know the intent. You never know. I mean, like I said, you can name any scenario known to mankind, because when a child is being followed on a bike path, the scenarios are endless.
Talk to me about the frustration, the police response. This is when you had sent us notes about this. I was shocked. So talk to our audience about what police reportedly told you initially and how it developed.
Well, the first officer that came out Sunday, he listened to us. He talked to Gage. Gage kept trying to show him the video. He's like, "What video? I haven't seen the video." Adam told him, he said, "Look," he said, "I'm trying to upload it to dispatch just like they told me." And he goes, "Okay, I don't know what to do in this situation. I've never been in this situation before. Let me go call my supervisor." So he goes to his car. He's out there probably good 10, 15 minutes maybe. And then he comes back and he says, he looks at Gage and asks him, he said, "Did she put you in harm?" And Gage told him, said, "Yes, I fear for my life. She cut me off twice before I started recording." He said, "That's why I started recording." And then he said, "Well, looking at what the officer wrote last night, she didn't hit you. If she wanted to, or if she wanted to cause harm to you or hit you, she could have. So in theory, no crime was done. No law." He said, "Yes, she broke the law by getting on the bike pathway, but we didn't see it, so we cannot issue a citation." Me and Adam both looked at each other like, "What do you mean you didn't see it? Here's a video." There's also a witness that has the video, which we have not seen yet. I said, "There was a witness. So you're telling us there's nothing you can do?" And he said, "No, nothing we can do. There's nothing to report, nothing to do."
And then you took action yourselves. You went to social media, right?
Absolutely. And that was Adam's first initial response in our community page and our W section page is, "Tell me this is legal without being illegal. Tell me why cops think that this is okay." And that's where it blew up because everybody's like, "How is she's chasing a kid. How is this lady not arrested?" At that point, that's when a lot of people started tagging the Flagler County Sheriff's Department, asking why. Why is this not illegal? Why is she not arrested? Tell us how this is okay.
The biggest frustration I got out of it was, okay, Sunday, nothing's good done. That's how he left us. There's no crime, nothing happened. And then he said the supervisor on shift Saturday scolded the woman. That was how they left it. We gave her a stern talking to. And I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. So I called Monday to get the police report from Saturday. They said no report was ever initiated. So there was no report Saturday night done, not filed. They said the 911 call has been redacted. So there was nothing physically that I could do. It was out of my hands. So that's when I called. The dispatcher told me to call the police again Monday and start another report. So officer came Monday, started the same, like the spill. There's no crime here. There's nobody's at fault. There's nothing that we can do. It's just one of those things. And that's when the emotions exploded.
What do you mean? What happened?
Just like helpless.
So after this response online, what changed?
Well, when the second officer came out, what was it you told the officer?
After the explosion from Monday, the views, the comments, being tagged, Tuesday, multiple officers showed up Tuesday. The sergeant on shift for Tuesday with the same officer for Monday. And he told me, he said, on behalf of Flagler County Sheriff's Department, we
When did we write
apologize.
the report? Was it Monday?
Monday's when we wrote the report. He apologized on behalf of his staff, the deputies, and said they handled this whole situation was mishandled.
Did they
Let's
admit?
back
Did
up
they?
Just a moment.
Okay.
Because Monday, after Adam called the officer back out here and demanded to write a report, again, they started out where they didn't want to do anything. That's when Adam kind of lost it. He said, okay. He goes, all right, then that's how you want to play it. You don't want to help us. She didn't do anything wrong. He said, let's see how this, and he said, either you can write a report or we're going to court.
I did
at that point,
I did threaten to sue.
he threatened to sue. And then at that point, that's when the officer went back. This officer went to his car, spoke to whoever it was, and then came back and said, okay, let's write this report. And then that's when we wrote up the report. And then Tuesday is when that officer and another officer came back, and then they apologized to Adam.
Did they admit that the amount of attention they were getting on social media influenced anything?
No. The Daytona News Sentinel reporter, just the timing was perfect because he was here when the deputies showed up. So it was
Really?
like the timing was perfect. And Frank, he's the one that initially took the story and did a wonderful piece. I couldn't ask for anybody to write a better piece on it, but he was asking for comments, and they shut. Of course, they're not going to talk to a reporter.
No, of course not. But my understanding is you've said, and correct me if I'm wrong, public sentiment is kind of turned against you and your son?
The comments of, oh, this kid's entitled. What was another one? Oh, Parenting 101 has failed. It just.
They're questioning why he was on. Well, I can understand both sides because there are a lot of kids on e-bikes that are doing stupid things. There's also a lot of adults on e-bikes that are doing stupid things. And seeing and hearing and witnessing a lot of this is the reason why it took us 3 years to buy Gage one of these bikes. For 3 years, I've told him no, no, no. And then it got to the point where, well, you can show me, you can be responsible. You follow up on the driver's the driver's manual handbook. Look at that. Look at some bike safety. I said, once you do that, we'll talk about getting you an e-bike. So this kid studied the driver's book for months. We actually lost my godson in October in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I think that just really kind of opened his eyes too, and it was the driver that was at fault. He was in a truck and he didn't see him on the motorcycle, ran him over, and I think Gage, hearing that story, going to the funeral, hearing, the incidences with motorcycles and things, I think that kicked in. Yeah. This is why mom and dad's taking this so serious. This is why they've hesitated on buying me a bike. Gage has also seen grown men run out in front of me, not stopping at stop signs, not stopping at the crosswalks, running red lights. He's seen my frustration. He's seen my heart race and pound of the near misses. So I think he's had enough that he realizes what he should and should not be doing on the e-bike.
Well, this, by the way, I didn't know that, and I'm so sorry for your loss, but it sounds to me now, this episode has a much different meaning for you guys. It has a much different meaning, and understandably so. And I'm glad that you've, have responded to the comments that you're getting online. It's disturbing to say the least. But now she's been arrested. So Julia Kalthof has been arrested. She has been charged. What do you make of the charges? What are you hoping justice is in this criminal case? Is it for her to be convicted and go to prison? Is it for her to lose her license? What are you hoping justice looks like in this case?
My biggest is that this is going to raise awareness. Don't take the law in your own hands, for one. We as adults and drivers, we need to be more responsible than that, for one. Two, I want these kids to see that there are crazy people out there. Whether you do something or not, you might come into the situation. What to do, what not to do with it. I'm glad that she was arrested and that she's going to be held accountable. But as far as, I'm not the law. I'm not above the law. I don't know what kind of charges. I don't know what kind of sentences or anything that comes with this. But I just want her to be able to realize, you can't do this. You can't do this to kids because you disagreed with the speed limit that he was doing. His bike is a class 2. Max speed is 25. And that's really, really pushing it. On average, he goes 18 to 20. If that. She should have called the law. Maybe she should have recorded him. Maybe she should have followed him from a safe distance on the road legally, and then came to the door. Hey, I just want to let you know your son is driving way too fast through the neighborhood, or whatever it may be, and all of this could have been avoided.
You would have been open to having a conversation with her if she had.
Absolutely.
So what?
I'm a mom, and I would be that mom that would not chase them, but follow from a safe distance and then knock on the door. Hey, ma'am, I just want to let you know, your kid ran out in front of me. I'm just looking out for his safety. Can you, talk to him about that? Because luckily it didn't happen this time, but if he continues this may happen.
Right.
I'm not saying Gage did that, but that would be my approach.
Adam, what would you say to her if you had the opportunity to talk to her and understand why she allegedly did what she did?
I would just want to know what that split second decision was that she decided to be above the law. That would be my understanding. That's what I guess that would give me closure, because that was a split second when you chose to take your car somewhere where it's not supposed to be. I would just want to know the thought process that went through.
Well, listen, Adam, Christina, the most important thing is your son's okay. He's
Yes.
okay. I mean, physically okay. This is such a distressing situation. When I saw the video, it was shocking to say the least. We'll continue to follow the case, see how it progresses in the legal system. I really appreciate you taking the time, particularly right after something like this happening, to talk a little bit more about it. And also, I know how difficult this is, but what I didn't realize how difficult this is in light of your loss. And again, I'm just so sorry for what you and your family have gone through. But I really, really appreciate it. And you taking the time also to respond to the people online, set the record straight. So again, you have an open forum as this case progresses. Would love to talk to you further. And I'm wishing you all the best moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.